Hi folks, I'm back. I'm well, I'm fine. Some people were asking why I was not publishing videos the past 3 weeks. I was very busy, and today I want to share the first forecast about what to expect from Sony in 2026. So what kind of lenses and cameras. And yeah folks, so first let's kick off with a private note. The past 2 weeks simply I had to do with my real art photo project, building a giant camera. I made a video about this, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I was very busy. Now I am back. I didn't stop to publish news on my website, so if you don't see me on YouTube for a couple of weeks, don't worry, you can always read a ton of news on sonyalpha.com, but also the other rumor websites for the rumors, mirrorless rumors, rumors, Nikon Eye, Fuji rumors, Canon Buzz, I spread all the news and rumors on those websites. Before I kick off also with the forecast, we had a ton of Chinese lens announcement during November, even during Christmas time, so they never pause. I'm not going to recap all the lenses that have been announced. You can read about them on sonyalpha and mirrorlessrumors.com and so forth. Today I can share one leaked image of another Chinese lens that is coming very soon and actually looks really great from a technical point of view and from an aesthetic point of view. It's the SG Images 35mm 2.2 pancake autofocus full frame E-mount lens. Very compact, looks very neat on the Sony A7C, and it's 2.2 aperture. When it comes to the forecast of 2026, I expect a ton of Chinese lenses, of course, and usually on my rumor website and on this channel, if there are some very interesting new lenses, I will make some videos. By the way, there should be also finally the first Chinese full frame E-mount autofocus lens coming in 2026, so this will quite be a big news because it's the first time for Chinese makers. So it's more difficult to make zoom lenses and primes because it's more difficult to nail the algorithms, the autofocus algorithms, and so that's what I have been told by some of the sources. So I'm very curious about this. Now, coming to Sony. Let's kick off with the most obvious part, which are the lenses, because I already told you we're getting the 400mm GM 4.0 pretty soon. Could be even coming in late January, because I heard about a possible announcement from Sony late January. There is also 400mm G lens with variable aperture, more compact, more lightweight, and of course more affordable. Could be announced along the 400 GM, again possibly even in 2-3 weeks from now. And then there is the 18-26mm 2.0 GM lens, which sounds pretty amazing. Those are the 3 lenses that are likely to be announced between January and March. I can already tell you that obviously those are not the only Sony lenses coming in 2026. There will be more. I heard about other GM lenses, so it will be quite exciting year. Sony, when it comes to lenses, they always excite us with something unique. Of course, the 16-28 2.0 GM is also world's first. So from a lens point of view, we will be excited by Sony in 2026. Now, when it comes to cameras, I'm working on the rumors so far. The only fact that I can share is that Sony didn't register a new camera in any of the Asian countries, like in Asia and China, where we usually ahead of time have those registrations, and we know that within 1-3 months Sony will announce some kind of camera. So far we have not had any of those signs, so in January and probably till mid-February there will be no camera announcement from Sony. But now I want to walk you through the cameras that are in dire need of a replacement. Usually Sony has an update cycle of around 4 years depending on the camera. So every 4 years on average a camera gets an update with a new model. So let's check out which are the oldest models. We have the RX100 VII that is now 6 years and 4 months old. I have got no indication that there will be a new successor this year, so far I have no rumor to share. I think they should make it. Compact cameras are selling quite hot, and the Sony RX1 R3 is simply too expensive to make a difference in that market. Having a 1-inch new compact camera with a new processor engine, new autofocus, the new menu and everything, I think would become quite popular for around $1,500–1,600. But I got no indication that this is going to be happening in 2026, but I think there's a fair chance that Sony will do this. Now, the second oldest camera in the lineup is the Sony A7S III, which is 5 years and 4 months old. Here again, I got no indication that there will be a Sony A7S IV anytime Soon, the Sony A7S lineup is quite iconic, so it has a precious history, so from an image point of view, it would make sense for Sony to launch a new camera. But the problem is that they also started the FX lineup after the Sony A7S III, and this has become very popular, so it somehow becomes redundant to have two models that are very close, an FX3, maybe an FX3 II and an A7S IV. Both would be very similar, close. Of course, the form factor is different. There are differences, but they're not that big. I don't know, maybe let me know in the comment section if you have an idea of how the A7S IV should be to justify a launch of this camera. I don't know. I simply have gotten no indication that there is an A7S IV coming this year. Now moving on, obviously the Sony FX3 is now 4 years 9 months old. This camera is likely to be replaced or an update will be announced in this year. That's according to trusted sources I heard a couple of months ago. So the FX3 II is likely to be announced in 2026. I didn't get official specs yet that I can share that are 100% confirmed. There are two possibilities regarding the sensor. Partially stacked could be the same A7 V sensor, would make sense to me, but then there is also the global shutter from the Sony A9 III 24 megapixel, which also would make sense. So I think this Sony FX3 II is coming in 2026 and will have either a partially stacked sensor from the Sony A7 V or the global shutter sensor from the Sony A9 III. So that's the indication I got. Now, we also have the FX30 that is in dire need of a replacement because it's also 3 years and 2 months old. So next year it will be near 4 years old. Would make sense for Sony to launch both the FX3 II and the FX30 II at the same time. I think that is an option. I think it's likely that this could be happening. Moving on, we have the Sony A7R V, which is now 3 years and 1 month old, which means by end of 2026 this camera is 4 years old. And I didn't get the confirmation, but I'm 90% certain that the A7R VI is coming by end of 2026, so that this will be the highlight of the year when it comes to the alpha cameras, full frame cameras. I think this is the one that will be coming in November 2026. I did own every A7R camera they launched in the past decade, and the A7R IV and A7R V had the same sensor. I think this time they will use a new sensor, and I'm very curious about if this will be a partially stacked sensor to get those that extra 1-2 stop dynamic range that the A7 V gives you. Having partially stacked sensor on the A7R VI would make a ton of sense because the A7R is always about the ultimate image quality, so I would be surprised if it doesn't use the partially stacked sensor. So something like a 60 megapixel partially stacked sensor with a 1-stop dynamic range increase and having a faster readout, which also benefits the camera. That would make a ton of sense to me, but that's now a speculation and not a certainty. There is also another camera that is aging and might be replaced. It's a Sony ZV-1, which is now 2 years and 8 months old, so next year will be over 3.5 years old. Don't know if this one is be announced sometimes in summer. I have no indication about that, but just to say that also this one is coming close to the 4-year average age. We also have the Sony A6700, which is now 2 years 5 months old. I don't know if the A6900 is coming this year. Could be that Sony will wait till 2027 to replace the A6700. We also have the A7C II and A7CR that are now 2 years and 3 months old. Those cameras were launched in September 2 years ago. September 2026 would be 3 years old. I don't know if there will be a A7C III or A7CR 2 coming September, also because the A7CR uses the same A7R V sensor. Makes more sense that the A7R VI will be announced before and then the A7CR a year after. When it comes to facts, no camera will be announced in January, probably till mid-February for sure. The Sony FX3 successor is the only camera where I've been told that this should be happening in 2026. I think super likely this A7R VI is also coming, so FX3 to the A7R VI are really near, certainly coming 2026. Think there's a good chance the RX100 VIII is coming because the market really demands it, and I think Sony has to update this model, which is over 6 years old. About the rest, we will see throughout the year if I get some confirmation. If you have some info about what cameras will be announced by Sony, but also about Canon, Nikon, Fuji and so forth, you can contact me using this email address, and also the contact form, which is anonymous. Just try to use a nickname. When it comes to other companies, I don't have a forecast yet. Maybe I will do a separate video in the next days for Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Lumix and so forth. But I know most of you are Sony shooters, so I wanted to make the Sony forecast first. From mid-January till late February, there will be many camera and lens announcements. So that I know for sure, because of course there's the CP Plus show. But end of February, I heard about the possible announcement from Sony, Lumix, Canon, Nikon, Nikon Z9 II probably. Canon will maybe announce a new R3 II. Lumix should announce something new, and also Sony. For sure the lenses, the cameras, I still don't know if there will be cameras before March from Sony, but let's see. Okay, folks, that's it, and I wish you a great new year, a lovely time with your parents and friends, and I see you very soon.